Without even looking at the cards, you'll be able to find the 4 cards chosen by the spectator underneath the table. This is the ultimate no-looking card trick. The magician starts the trick by showing 2 piles to the spectator. The first pile contains 48 cards and all the cards are all shuffled. The second pile contains 4 cards and the magician will show those 4 cards to the spectator later in the trick. The magician spreads the bigger pile and asks the spectator to pick 4 random cards. The spectator picks this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those 4 cards are the Queen of Diamonds, the 6 of Spades, the 8 of Diamonds, and the 9 of Diamonds. Now the magician will make 4 piles by dealing cards on the table. The first pile contains 12 cards. The second pile contains 9 cards. The third pile also contains 9 cards. And the fourth pile will simply contain the rest of the cards. Now the spectator will have to bury his cards within those piles. And here's the instructions that the magician gives him. First, he must break a portion of the fourth pile in order to make a fifth pile. And then he must place one of his chosen cards on top of the fourth pile. Afterwards, he must break a portion of the third pile and place this broken portion on top of the fourth pile. And then he must place one of his chosen cards on top of the third pile. The spectator must continue the same kind of process with the second and first pile. Now that all the cards are placed, the magician gathers all the piles together to make one single pile. Now the magician takes his 4 helper cards. What's important here is the value of the cards. There is 1 card with the value of a king, 1 card with the value of a 10, 1 card with the value of a 4, and 1 card with the value of a 7. The suit and color don't matter, only the value of the card matters. The magician takes the bigger pile and makes 4 piles. For the first pile, he deals 13 cards on the table since the value of a king is 13. For the second pile, he deals 10 cards since the value of the second card is 10. For the third pile, he deals 4 cards since the value of the third card is 4. And finally, for the fourth pile, he counts 7 cards in his hand to make a pile and puts the pile on the table alongside the others. The magician no longer needs the remaining cards nor the 4 helper cards on the table. Therefore, he gets rid of them. To amaze a spectator, the magician will take out 1 card from each pile. However, he won't even look at the cards. He will simply bring the pile underneath the table and pick 1 card without even looking at the pile nor the card. Here's the first card that he picks. He continues the same process with the second pile. He brings it underneath the table and picks a card without even looking at it. He continues the same process with the third pile. Here's the third card that he picks. And finally, here's the fourth card that he picks from the fourth pile. To conclude the trick, the magician asks the spectator what were his cards. And against all the odds, the magician picked the 4 cards of the spectator without even looking at the cards. How crazy is that? To perform this trick, you'll need 2 piles. 1 pile of 48 cards. All the cards are all different and all shuffled. For the second pile, you'll need 4 cards. What's important with those cards is the value of the cards. You'll need a king, a 10, a 4, and a 7. Make sure you start the trick by having those 4 cards ready on the table. Give the deck to the spectator and let him shuffle the cards a little bit. Once he's done shuffling, he must pick 4 cards. Let's say he picks this one, this one, this one, and this one. In this tutorial, the 4 cards are the 6 of diamonds, the 9 of spades, the ace of clubs, and the 8 of diamonds. You must take the bigger pile and make 4 piles. The first pile must contain 12 cards. The second pile must contain 9 cards. The third pile must also contain 9 cards. And the last pile will simply have to contain all the cards remaining in your hand. Now your spectator must bury his cards within those 4 piles. Here's how. There are 4 piles on the table. First, he must break a portion of the 4th pile in order to make a 5th pile. And then he must place one of his chosen cards on top of the 4th pile. Afterwards, he must break a portion of the 3rd pile and place this broken portion on top of the 4th pile. And then he must place one of his chosen cards on top of the 3rd pile. The spectator must continue the same kind of process with the 2nd and 1st pile. When your spectator is done burying his cards, you must gather all those piles together. It is crucial that you start by taking the pile completely to the left and place the rest of the piles completely underneath it. Once all the cards are gathered, you can show to your spectator your helper cards. Make sure you place those cards on the table following this order: King, 10, 4, and 7. Now you'll have to make 4 piles based on the value of the 4 cards on the table. But you must also know that the way that you deal the cards on the table matters. For the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd pile, you must deal cards on the table by dealing cards from the top of the deck. Here's how. For the 1st pile, you'll have to deal 13 cards on the table. For the 2nd pile, you must deal 10 cards on the table. For the 3rd pile, you must deal 4 cards on the table. And finally, when you must make the last pile, you must count 7 cards in your hand without reversing the order of the cards. Here's how you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once you've counted 7 cards in your hand, you can place those cards on the table. At this point, you no longer need the remaining cards in your hand, nor the helper cards on the table. Simply get rid of them. Here's how you will find the 4 cards of the spectator. At this point, each pile contains 1 card of the spectator, and the card of the spectator, it's located completely at the bottom of each pile. Here's the 1st card, 2nd card, 3rd card, and 4th card. Since you know that the card of the spectator is at the bottom, when you bring one of the piles underneath the table, simply peel off the bottom card and place this 1 card back on the table, and you can get rid of the remaining cards. Follow the same process with the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pile. The card of the spectator will always be at the bottom. And to conclude the trick, simply show to your spectator that you can actually find his 4 chosen cards without looking at the cards.